What's going on, everybody? Yo, this is GC3, and I'm in the place to be, lovely Phoenix, Arizona, even though it's super cold over here. I am been struggling with this upper respiratory infection, so I'm still kind of clogged up, but a lot going on in the basketball world for high school. We are nearing the postseason. I know Hawaii already began, so after we record this session, I'm going to be watching some Hawaii girls state tournament action here before I go to bed. But since I've been just under the weather and just trying to fight this bug, I get to bring a special guest. So all of you viewers are going to have a special treat because she's just an amazing person, an amazing talent. She's making big moves here in the basketball business and one of my favorite guests that I've interviewed. So she's going to be kind of running the show today. So with that being said, here's Juju Alexander. What's going on,
How's
girl? How
it
are you doing?
going? I'm great. How are you?
Excuse me. I'm
I know,
I'm
I know
hanging
you're
in there.
getting better. I know. It's the
I'm,
season. It's the time of the season.
you
The
know,
weather's
in the
changing. We
Phoenix
gotta
area,
adapt.
it's been just the weather. We're fighting the weather, and I know you're out in Florida. Thank you for
Yeah,
joining us and for taking the lead on the show.
of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So I'm going to let you take over because we have another special guest because this episode number 27 is monumental because I don't think the story of Arizona basketball has really been told. I mean, it's been kind of I don't think it's been documented. So I had an idea to like, hey, let's bring somebody who is just been doing it for I mean, yeah, for a minute. I mean, probably like 30 plus years he's been in the business and he's been a pillar in the community. So I'll let you introduce him.
Hello?
Well, anyways, yeah, I'm gonna bring him on right now. This is a friend, a mentor to me who pretty much helped get me started in the business. And I owe him a lot. I'm just so grateful for him. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Anthony Ray. Mr. Ray, how are you doing, sir?
Very good, sir. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
It's nice to
Really
see you. We're
appreciate it.
excited to have you on today.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
And
you as well.
sounds like you're doing some great things, as George said. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here tonight and talk to you. And I really appreciate the introduction, George.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Anything that we can do to promote basketball in general, George is great at. I'm blessed to be here to help him host today. So, we want to learn about you. The viewers want to hear about you. So, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions, get some insight, any free game you want to give us at the end. But let's start off with some Arizona basketball history. We need to learn a little bit about you. So, how long have you been involved in Arizona basketball?
I guess all my life, because I'm from Arizona. Played high school ball here, junior high, middle school, and also college. So, I started in the profession in 95, but I've pretty much been here all my life, which is what has made me successful in reporting Arizona basketball because I understand the history of it as well as anyone.
Right. Do you want to talk to us about some of your experience before you started reporting? What made you want to get into it? How long did you play? All that stuff, just for some background.
Yeah. I played up until I couldn't play anymore, which for me was after I finished college. I walked on at Northern Arizona 1 year, and then had a kid and decided, okay, I'm not going to the NBA like most people that I knew. I've got to find another way to stay involved in the game. And
Right.
so I did my first basketball camp with Mark West,
Nice.
who was a player for the Phoenix Suns in 1991, my senior year of high school. And I fell in love with working with kids in that event. And so that's what kind of made me kind of gravitate towards youth basketball. But initially, my love was in professional basketball. So I actually started in sports management, and I was a sports agent in 1993, from
Nice.
93 to 95, 96, maybe a little longer than that, but lost every ounce of money I had, and realized that I just didn't have good enough players to make money and to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I was tired of dealing with men. And a good friend of mine said, this is a good opportunity for you to work with youth. And that's when I started doing that in 95. I started a scouting service in 95 because Arizona just wasn't getting recruited at the level that I thought it should be. I thought we had a lot of talent, but most of our kids went to junior colleges.
Okay, I see. Isn't it? It's crazy how it's so hard to get away from the game once you've been involved with it for so long. I mean, like, that's how I found where I'm at today because I just couldn't get away from the game. I wanted to coach, I wanted to play. I took a break and then I'm like, I have to come back to it. Like, I think when you're a hooper at heart, you just always find your way back to the game somehow, some way. So I completely understand that it's hard. It's hard to stay away for sure. Um, let's see. What roles? So those were the like first couple roles that you had besides those, or like climbing the ranks to where you are right now. What other roles did you have until you got to reporting?
Just because I was always a really good writer. That is how I got started. I just started writing that report.
Mhm.
My background is in social psychology. I have two master's
Oh,
degrees. So I've always been highly educated. So writing was always, when you're in school, as you write so many papers.
yeah,
I was able. I mean, I've written thousands of papers, and I was able to write easily. I could write a whole paper in 2 hours.
yeah.
And so,
That's crazy.
yeah, and then like you say, because I have a love for basketball, there's a difference
Yeah.
in writing between business writing,
Hmm.
obviously, and then writing in English class or journalism writing.
Hmm.
So I was able to I worked with a lot of people in the sport over the years, and I was able to meet some different guys that early on that had scouting services, and I kind of saw the way that they wrote, and I also followed. At that time, the internet, it was just getting started,
Hmm.
and so there were starting to be more athletic websites, like Rivals.com was the first,
Hmm.
and Rivals wanted to do a recruiting website for Arizona. Because I started this scouting service, a lot of people started to get to know my name around the country. So when they wanted to do a website for Arizona and call it Arizona Preps, I just got lucky by chance. I was running an event, a basketball event called the Arizona Preps Fall Showcase. And at the time, it was called the Arizona Hoop Review Fall Showcase. It was named after my scouting service. But there
Oh,
was a
okay.
scout there that said, "Hey, I got asked to do this website for Rivals.com, but you're a better writer than me." His name is Jerry Norley, and Jerry goes, "You should run this website." It
Oh,
was literally
wow.
the greatest opportunity for me that I had
That's
had.
crazy. Yeah.
And like George talked about, someone's always got to give you your chance.
Right.
And that was at a time when it seemed like nobody was trying to help anybody, but that
Hmm.
guy helped me, and I'm forever thankful. And then I started Arizona Preps in 1999,
Okay.
and so now we are 25 years later. It's still going strong.
Wow, that's amazing. How do you how would you describe the like evolution of reporting from the time that you started till up until now? Has it changed at all, or I mean, I'm sure it has. So, in what ways do you see that?
Yeah, my ultimate goal when I started was to improve the Arizona basketball culture.
Hmm.
But really, what I needed to do was to create an Arizona basketball culture. When I started, luckily the Arizona Stars and the Arizona Heat had started to develop that culture. We had two club programs in Arizona, and they started to build it because they had all the best players, and it was amazing. Different from now, when you talk about how much it's changed. Back then, you had two programs, and every top player was on those two teams. So
Right.
every college coach would come watch those teams, and the kids got recruited at a high level.
Right.
Uh, now today, of course, there's hundreds of teams. Most games I go watch kids play, there's never a college coach there,
Mm.
and there's probably very little to no media.
Mm.
So now there's way more basketball being played. The culture is way stronger and better than it's ever been. That's
Yeah.
an awesome thing. But it's so big right now. There's a lot of watered down
Yeah.
aspect to it. But hey, at the end of the day, we got more kids playing basketball than ever.
Right.
Basketball in this state is better than it's ever been. There's more players signing
Hmm.
with colleges at all levels, more than we've ever even imagined, boys and
Yeah.
girls. So there's nothing that I could say about it that from that standpoint that would diminish how much it's improved over the years.
Yeah. It's crazy to me, being a player and playing at like the AAU circuit and on all levels to see the progression and how much opportunity that there really is for these kids now. Like when I was playing, you had to perform well at this specific event that we knew college coaches were going to be at, or else you wouldn't get the exposure. And now there's just so much access and there's so much opportunity. It's like there's no reason you shouldn't, get to where you're at least trying to go a little bit, because of the
Yeah,
resources. So it's crazy to see the evolution.
and it's great to hear you say that from the girls' perspective because the girls' scene has come such a long way.
Yes,
I mean, we
such a
didn't have
long way.
any Division I prospects in the girls. I mean, back when Nicole Powell played at,
Mm,
and she was a superstar. And Arizona's been like that, boys and girls wise. You have 5 or 10 great players, and then the rest, the drop off is so tremendous.
yeah,
But now, like just like you said, now there's way more girls playing, way
yeah,
more girls getting recruited. So the boys and the girls have gone to another level.
yeah. And it must be fun for you to watch too. Just getting to be in that atmosphere and seeing all the progression. That's so dope. Speaking on players, who are some of the top players that you have had or have seen over the years
I've seen
that
about it.
stand out?
I've that's one thing. I mean, I've been blessed because of I love what you said. Like the game always, brings you back to it.
Mhm.
After you're done playing, you have to decide if you really love the game, if you really do love it, like I do and you do, how can I stay involved in it? And
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be as a player, it doesn't even have to be as a coach. I've
yeah,
helped a lot of kids go to college, but I've helped a ton of guys become video coordinators in the NBA and
mm,
then they become assistant coaches.
yeah,
I've helped a lot of guys outside of just playing the game.
hmm,
And so there's so much opportunity, like you said, in the sport that doesn't always require you to play the game.
yeah, definitely. How did the prep programs in Arizona even start?
That's a great question. The prep programs in Arizona started years ago with a program called West Wind Prep. And
Okay.
West Wind Prep was the first of its kind. It was created by a guy named Gary Truesdale. And we were not ready for it when it happened, but it took the state by storm. Westwind Prep was extremely good, produced 3 NBA draft picks in their first 3 years of existence. And then from there, it really took off. That's a very loaded question and answer
Mm,
because even though Westwind Prep had so much success, it was very expensive to run it.
mm,
And eventually the school went under because they just couldn't afford it anymore. But then that it made such a splash that it gave rise to Hillcrest Prep,
Oh.
which was started by some of the same people that were at West Wind. Nick Weaver was at West Wind. He started Hillcrest Prep, and then Hillcrest Prep had so much success. Then it gave rise to Bella Vista Prep, and then eventually Dream City Christian, and then eventually PHH Prep and AZ Compass. So I actually, but that's where it gets loaded, because those schools all kind of came in succession after the success of Hillcrest. But then most people don't know, but I was involved in the creation of AZ Compass Prep. And so once we built AZ Compass Prep, which I didn't think it was possible to get it to where it is today, it's unreal. But at that point in time, when we started AZ Compass Prep, I knew when we were doing that, this is going to replace club programs. Because the amount of money and resources that are given to club programs, top club programs annually, is so much. And there's no guarantee essentially that the shoe company is going to sign any of those kids. It was obvious to me that prep schools are going to become the new club programs.
Yeah, for sure. Well, how do you see like what's your projection for Arizona basketball from now till the next 5 years?
I think there's going to be a number of more prep schools popping up, a lot more. I think I don't know, but I'm assuming the girls circuit is going to get back to where it was several years ago, and then hopefully go beyond that. And when I say that, I meant the prep schools were really getting good. Bella Vista, AZ Compass, Dream City, they're still good, but I would love to see them take that next step. And Georgia's going to be a big part of that. I think, I think there's going to be more club programs here that are shoe sponsored.
For sure,
You've got Balance, Puma, and other shoe companies that are looking to make an impact in that industry as well. I think Arizona is going to blow up beyond anything that we're even seeing now. It's gonna. There's so many people moving here, and daily, and there's so many jobs that are being presented here in the tech industry and different industries. There's going to be so many great talents, boys and girls, that move to Arizona, and we are not even scratching the surface, because a lot of people are moving here also that are already in the basketball community. That's Arizona as an opportunity for them to come here and set up shop.
Yeah, that's what's going on in Vegas as well. It's going to be booming in Arizona and Vegas in the next few years, especially with all the Vegas. I was living there for I think 3 years, before I moved to Orlando for my job for AAU, and I have seen the growth exponential. It's insane to see the basketball growth in just Vegas, and I'm seeing how it's going to move and shift into Arizona already. So I 100% agree with that. What advice would you give to someone looking to be in your position, or someone that may be starting out in your position and that have the same aspirations? What would you say for them?
That's a great question, because again, I've been, like George said, I've been doing this for over 30 years. The perception is that I don't even know what the perception is. Everyone has their own perception of of who Anthony Ray is and what this business is, but it is a grind. I've worked not only a full-time job, but a demanding full-time job for 30 years while doing this on the side, moonlighting in the evenings. It's cost me a lot of my health. It's cost me my finances, my sanity in a lot of ways, because it's a lot of hard work, right? Because there's a lot of kids out here that aren't getting recruited. And even though it still looks really good now, there's still a ton of kids that aren't getting recruited at the level they should be. And we've got a long way to go still. So anybody that's wanting to do that, I would applaud their efforts. Tell them to join, because we need it's a village. It takes a village to get these kids recruited. And now there's so many kids playing. I can't see kids by myself. We have a staff of people that give their time. They can't see all these kids.
Right.
So I would just say, if you're going to jump into this, most people that have done it throughout my 30 years have not made it long. They quit because they just can't do it, and they don't understand. Hey, I'm not making any money. Why am I doing this? You have to do it for the love.
Right.
Because you can't chase money. You can't chase any of that because you're not going to get it. There's no money in basketball. Not enough. You got to do it for the love and because you care about these kids, or at least you care about the sport enough to where you want to give something to it that it didn't have before you got to it.
Exactly. That kind of goes into my last question. What are the intangibles? And you kind of briefly answered, but what are the intangibles that keep you in this, that have kept you in this business for so long? And what do you think? What do you think makes you as good as you are in it? Because you're doing something right to be in this business for as long as you are. So the viewers need to know what's the secret sauce.
You know what? I was thinking about that as I finally went hiking this weekend. I've been trying to lose weight and get in shape, and I was doing that with a brother of mine, and we were talking, and I was asking him. I needed to know, and I was trying to, like, why do I stay up till 2 and 3 in the morning on weeknights and then go to work at 6? Why have I done that for so long, writing about kids?
Yeah.
And I still get the same enjoyment every time I write about a kid as if I just started the business, yesterday. It's weird.
I love that.
My brother, and he made me realize why. And he said, "Man, Ant, when you were a kid, you worked so hard on your game, and that's all you did, and you weren't given opportunities." Because I played for a coach that, it seemed like every situation I didn't get an opportunity that I either felt like I deserved or I wanted. Hey, but life's not fair. That's the way it goes.
Right.
But I remember crying, sitting on the bench when I was a senior in high school, and I remember crying because I wasn't selected for the all region team. But there were like 3 other kids on my team that were honorable mention, and I was the leading scorer on the team, leading rebounder. I did all I could do that season to try to earn myself an opportunity to get a scholarship, but I didn't get selected. And I remember just the pain that I felt, and I remember feeling like that. And I said to myself, I never want another kid to feel like this if I can help it. And that's what made me start a scouting service. That's why I continue to do this when there's very little compensation, but I just continue to love it. That's why I think George does it. Because I listening to him and my story too, I think we're both, if you're able to do this and do it for a length of time, there's something that has to drive and motivate you. And I think for me, it's every year I still run into kids and parents who their kids aren't getting recruited. They feel like their high school coach screwed them over. It's a case by case basis, but usually they're right. And it's just, there's so many kids that have dreams and goals and wishes that are not being met. Now I understand too, you got to have tough love. You got to give tough love to some of these kids. And they, they're not all going Division I.
Right.
They're not all going to play college ball even. You got to be real. But if they're good enough to play college ball, then I want to make sure that every kid that has that ability gets that opportunity.
I love that. It's clear that you're living in your purpose, if not one of them, the one. And you're recognized. We appreciate you. The game needs you, and it's continuing to grow because of people like you. So we're beyond grateful, and we always want to give you and everyone who's in the business doing the things that you do, their flowers, because the game doesn't run as beautifully and as loving and as it should without people like you. So I want to say thank you on behalf of everyone who's watching this and everyone who knows you and has come across me, because I know that you have had impacts on many, many people's lives. So thank you for that. Is there any other free game or anything else that you want to leave off on before I bring George back in?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for those amazing words. Because in doing this for so long, I think I've come to terms with the fact that that's all I'll probably ever get out of this. Is just
Mm.
wonderful thank yous and appreciation like that. I never did it for money. There were times when I thought I could make some money doing it, and then the enemy, as I call them, for those of us that have that faith, you realize that there's temptations out there, and it steers
Right,
you away from what I feel is God's vision for my life.
right.
And at this point right now in my life, I'm just very thankful, and I know that if that's all I get is appreciation when I'm dead and gone, and then people and the game is better, and the state is better, and kids have more opportunities, then I'm very thankful and appreciative, and that's all I need to say.
We love that. Thank you so much for those words. It's moving to me just because I have always appreciated people like you because my journey wasn't the easiest. So people like you are why I continue to play, why I do what I do now to help other people. So I completely understand your why. And again, it's why the game needs you so much. So thank you so much for answering all these questions. George, do you have any other questions that you want to ask or anything else?
Well, first off, I want to thank you, Juju, for filling in for me. I mean, I had to go off camera to just cough out my lungs a little bit. I'm just fighting this upper respiratory, and it doesn't sound. I think I do a pretty good job of covering it, but throughout the day, I'm pretty miserable. But with playoffs, I'm trying to like maintain my health. To Anthony, man, like I reflected on this weekend and just kind of was, with my son. My son was like, who's also named Anthony. My son goes, Dad, how's Uncle Anthony doing? I said, he's doing good. He has a son that he's balancing his time with. His son's playing basketball, and he's being a dad, taking care of his family. And I said, but Anthony and I, me and your uncle, we're close. We're the type of friends that we may not talk for weeks at a time, maybe even a month or so, but when we pick, when we call each other. It's like we never left. So super grateful for what you did for me in my career. For people who don't know, I was a fired high school coach, and I had a phone call from a friend of mine who's also a mutual friend to Anthony, and he goes, George, it happens. Sometimes it wasn't a good fit, but he goes, look at this. I want you to take a look at it. What do unemployed college basketball coaches and professional coaches do? And I said, I don't know. Look for another job. They go, well, if the job is not going to be there right away, George. I said, well, that's true. I don't know. I'm just so, hurt and upset by the situation that happened. And he goes, take a media job. And I said, okay. And he's like, George, I think you know enough about basketball. You could start writing and you know, fast forward, I ended up calling Anthony, which it took him a couple of days to get back to me, which was fine. And I remember the conversation when you called me back. You're like, well, what can how can I help you? Like, what, And I just said, oh, I want to come work for you. And you're like, George, I ain't got no money. Like, I can't afford to pay you. I don't know what you want. And and then I said, I felt like the water boy, going back to, going to Coach Klein and, the fired water boy, I'll do it for free, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I'll get back to you, kind of like you're trying to process it. And I think you called Chris Hurst, and you're like, Chris, who is this dude, man? This guy's crazy. Like, he, straight up calling me for a job, but he just wants to do it for free. And Chris is like, "Oh no, George is a good guy. Maybe he could help you out." I mean, the result is, oh my gosh, never in my wildest dreams that I think I would be in this position, and kind of like a temporary assignment from you turned into this. And I mean, for those who don't know, because again, it's I like to clear the air. Like I hear some crazy things, like Anthony and George is at war. I'm like, we're not at war. Like what? What are you guys talking about? Like just because I'm not going to all the boys events, I mean, there's just so many games. Like you said, there's so much talent to keep up with, and um, yeah, and I'm very appreciative of you. You know, I'll always be forever grateful, and I'm just lucky to have our relationship and continue to just help kids. Like it's, I get the same, just the same enjoyment and excitement as when I first started working for you. When I got a kid that'll text me is like, I don't know what you did, sir, but thank you. This college coach is like texting me and calling me and asking for Phil. And I said, oh, yeah, enjoy the process. So it's just it's been a journey. It's been a fun journey, and I mean it's fun. Like I'm just enjoying this. Trying to get all these other different ways to reach the audience, and it's fun.
Yeah, but you're doing such an amazing job, George. And I think that's, and that's what Juju was asking. That's what it takes to be able to do this, because you do so much. I don't know when you sleep,
I mean,
and but
last
but it,
night I had a call. I had a call at like 11 o'clock at night. I had a coach asking me for players, and I'm like, man, coach, I'm like, you killing me. Like, you want 2024? Is this late? I'm like, all right, let me see what I got. And I said, give me some time to kind of think. And I was able to put some kids in on her radar. And she texted me today. It was like, she's like, how do you? I said, I don't know. I just do. Just hit up those kids and see if it's a fit. And again, just super grateful. A lot of fun. I mean, we're expanding. Um, I'm possibly going to be doing more events in different states, but we'll see. Like I said, I can't, like what everybody, like you've said, there's a perception that you and I make all this money. We really don't. I'm a teacher. I'm surviving on a teacher salary.
yeah, it's yeah. What I would say to your community out there, and I know you have a really nice community of folks that support you, and I just hope and pray that that continues to grow for you to the highest level, because the misperception is that what you said, that people that that we're making money. But I can also tell you that, I mean, one, there's no money. I mean, it's man, how many times have you at the end of a tournament been like, man, I only got this much, or I've done that. I only have this much to pay you because we got no money left after paying our expenses. But all these things that you're doing, George, like you said, to reach the audience, I think are amazing. I don't know how you're able to sustain it and do it, but you're working your butt off. And I just want to see more people support your efforts, my efforts, everyone's efforts, because it takes a lot of work to do this stuff. And you're making, I mean, on the girls' side, you're doing some things that have never been done before. And it deserves the utmost support. And I don't think the community understands what you get from this. This is exposure,
Yeah.
and it's in an environment where these kids aren't getting exposure. They need all the exposure they can get. They don't think they do.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, well, I'm good, I'm averaging so many points, I'm going to get a team.
Mhm.
But that old adage of, if you're good enough, they'll find you. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's information, but there's so many players. How does a
Oh,
coach
right.
go from one to the other? It has to come from individuals like yourself, like me, like other guys that are putting the word out there, that have those relationships, because there's too much information today to be able to know who to look at. So people have got to support you. They've got to support what you're doing. And that's why I thought it was such a great idea when you decided to do it, because there's such a huge need for it, not only in Arizona, but as you said, around the country. And it's unfortunate, but people around the country appreciate you more than we do in Arizona. And that's got to change.
No, absolutely. Like when I go to New Mexico, California, Hawaii, like I'm blown away. Like I'm over there, like I'm just in shock. Like they're like, "Oh, you're the GC3 dude. We follow you on Twitter, on Instagram." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just a normal guy. I got a cell phone, and I got a pen and a paper. Like, okay, my little Chromebook, little rinky dink $100 Chromebook I got from Walmart.
Right. You still,
And
yeah. And I'm the same way. We both be sitting next to each other with our $100 Chromebooks, changing lives, helping someone get a $250,000 scholarship, just
Right.
because we care.
Right.
I just put a kid. This is what's crazy. Earlier tonight, you spoke about my son. I was at my son's game, and he's playing on the JV, but there's a kid on the varsity at his high school that's really good. I put him on the phone with a coach, and the coach offered him a scholarship sight unseen just because of our relationship. You've done this numerous times, George. And so I did that, and then the kid got off the phone, handed it to me, and just walked off. And I was like, he just offered you a full ride scholarship just based on me handing you the phone, and you didn't even say thank you. These kids are out of their minds nowadays.
Yeah,
I wanted to yell. I wanted to put my hands on that kid. I was so upset. You know what I mean?
I was gonna ask you a question earlier about how you saw the differences between athletes then and now, because I feel like they're a little bit different in this generation. They're
Man,
just a little different, right?
super
That
the
way.
now age, right? I mean, these kids want everything now. Nothing excites them
Yeah,
because everyone's trying to be their friend and tell them how great they are.
exactly.
But as you know, back in the day, really good coaches. You had way more of them. You had a lot of old school guys. They would never tell you how good you were.
Never.
Even if you could be McDonald's All-American, and they'd be like, still got a lot of work to do. But that's
Right.
what kids need.
Yeah.
Trying to be their friend, and everyone's trying to recruit them to their school or their club team. So all they ever hear is how great they are. But then again, a lot of these kids are training and they're getting their development, so they also get that. So these kids are better than we've ever seen.
For sure.
They're athletic, they're bigger, stronger, but the humbleness, the work ethic, all that used to be what actually made these kids special, they're missing that.
Yeah.
Well, I have to agree. I mean, working in education, being a former coach, I mean, when I was coaching, I first got started in like 2012, 2013. Now, I don't know if I could coach any of these kids. Like, it's a lot to deal with. And even like the parents, I mean, the parents it's just toxic. I'll be sitting there and I'm like, your kid can barely dribble, and then you're yelling at the coach, about playing time. I'm like, I just want to tell them, like, your kid's not good. Like, they don't have good fundamentals. I said, it's the coach has to rotate him out because your kid's a liability. He's a turnover waiting to happen. you know, so it's tough. I mean, on the girls' side, I didn't really get much of that when I first got into it, but now it's starting to slowly kind of bubble across from the boys to the girls, where some of it's pretty toxic, and it's just unfortunate. One of my feature episodes, I'm actually going to be interviewing some referees on here, just to so and I just
Good.
super like excited and grateful that they're willing to put their face and their name out on my podcast and to have a conversation about officiating. And but ultimately I think it just needs to be done so the community is just educated, because now it's getting wild out there. I mean, it's supposed to be about the kids, and everybody has their roles and everybody's staying in their lane, and it's just not. The times have changed a lot.
They sure have, man. And you're right, and it's only going to continue to, I don't want to say worse, bad, good. It's just going to continue to change. And we're going to have to change with it.
Absolutely. But anyways, I want to thank Anthony for joining. I know how busy you are. Same with Juju. This is pushing what, 9:13 her time. She's out in Orlando. I really appreciate her taking her time out of her daily schedule, even losing some sleep, a little bit of sleep, to jump on and hold down this podcast while I'm still recovering from my upper respiratory infection.
No problem. No
But
problem.
anyways, I'm gonna dismiss you two so you guys can get to bed, and I'm gonna close up. But thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you so much, Juju. I really appreciate you guys.
It was very nice talking to you, Anthony. Nice to meet you. Thank you again for everything that you do. You're appreciated. If no one tells you, please remember that.
It means everything to me. And thank you, Juju, so much. Wonderful meeting you. Thank you, George, for the platform. You know that in all the years I've been doing this, I mean, I've definitely had interviews here and there, but for the most part, I've written over probably 5,000 stories on kids since 98, 99. But I don't think anyone's ever written anything on me, you know? So I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here. George, you understand how hard we work and how hard this is. And, and in some ways it's a thankless business, but I am very appreciative of you both for wanting to even have me on. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Anthony. You guys have a good night, and I'm going to close up.
Have a good night, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. So a little bit longer than normal, but just an amazing, Arizona basketball history episode. So this is episode number 27. Hosted by none other than Juju Alexander, and interviewing Mr. Anthony Ray, Arizona Preps. Thank you, guys. Until next time. Aloha.